Welcome to the Alternative Healers Coffee Chat.
We are Victoria Amador
and Janel Mulligan.
And I help those going through spiritual awakening release traumas, fears, and doubts.
I'm a neuro-linguistic programmer, quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, life mediator, and Reiki practitioner.
Beautiful. And the goal of this podcast, this community, is to introduce you or reacquaint you to different healing modalities that may offer you different opportunities to find out what else is out there that can be part of your healing journey. And today we have Nathalie Delaine. Nathalie is a life coach. She focuses on women from ages 20 to 40s and anything else, I think. Like if you need help, you can reach out to her. So for those that are feeling stuck in life, she will be definitely a beautiful resource for you to have. Welcome, Nathalie.
Welcome.
Good morning, good day, or depending on wherever you're watching in from. Hi.
So I gave a quick intro, but I hope that you can give us a background, like where you're from, where your parents from.
Oh, I would love to.
What got you here?
Yeah, and I love this story. So I am first generation American. My mother's from Costa Rica and my father's from Martinique, so Latin America and French Caribbean. So my household was very atypical, very like 3 languages, different foods, different rules, different structures compared to a lot of the people that I grew up around that were, Americans. So I'm blessed because I feel like I got such an amazing mix of who I am and why I became who I am and becoming still. It's beautiful to see cultures coming together. And people tend to ask me, well, what do you feel? Are you Black or are you Spanish? And I'm like, it's not that simple, right? Like there's so many facets to who I am. Like I love Latin food more than I like French food, but then I like French music more than I like. It's like a beautiful thing. And I think it's indicative of where the world is starting to head into. And I love that. And I was born in New York, lived there forever, raised there, went to school, all the goodies. Until one day I was like, that's it, I'm done. When I was approaching 40 years old, I realized one day I woke up and I was just becoming that zombie on the subway that just sits there and doesn't smile and doesn't talk. And I think I probably had headphones on and I was just like, I wasn't there. I wasn't present. And I started to realize that I was showing up that way more often than like with presence. And like something just smacked me. I was like, I'm done. Like I cannot do this any longer. And I decided to move. And so, but before I moved though, let's back up a little bit. I started meditating and that was kind of what started my whole spiritual journey. Someone had talked about it. And back then it wasn't like really cool and like in mode and in fashion. Like it was still this thing that no one really talks about. And like everyone thought, right? Like they had this like, yes, they had this one idea what meditation was. So I started meditating and that kind of kicked off so many beautiful things. And I started with a book, and which is interesting. It's kind of hard, but I figured it out. And then since then, and that's probably about almost 10 years ago, I meditate almost every single day, like since I started. And it's become like brushing my teeth. So during that journey of meditation, I realized it was time to leave New York. I left New York. I decided to move to South Florida because I love the sun. And then I just started my own transformation journey. I started taking courses, meeting different people, yoga, meditation, breathwork, like all the beautiful array of healing services there are, and reading, journaling. And what I learned is that I finally got to hear my own heart. Like in New York, I was going and going and what's next and work long and get more. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it just wasn't working for me anymore. And when I got to Florida, it was almost like, okay, I could hear my heart, I could hear myself. And I think that's what really kicked off my transformation journey and my a lot of healing and a lot of the things that I've learned and led me to today, which is now I help other people with their transformational journeys. Like I really felt so stuck in that life in New York. Like I didn't see where to go if there was a path. And I know a lot of people feel like that today, right? And so I studied to become a life coach. I did my certification. I started I'm going on my 4th year, well, kind of 5th year, in between 4th and 5th year. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be able to like guide people through this journey that's not easy. And right, because I did it myself. I know some of the things people can experience. I can relate. I don't know. It's a beautiful, like, full circle. Well, not full, because right, hopefully I have a lot of years left, but it's like coming back, like all the things I learned and went through are serving a purpose. And I love that.
And you come from corporate, right?
Yes. So I worked in corporate America for 22 years plus, like in between there. I was under that impression that, like, you go to school, you study hard. I had a straight A student, then you get a job, right? I followed that path, even though I didn't want to. But again, I wasn't listening to my heart back then. I was 8 hours a day, 9 to 10 hours a day in an office, commuting for 22 plus years. Like, no wonder I felt like a zombie. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but it just didn't, my soul wasn't alive, and I can tell. And I just didn't know how to transition out of that.
So what makes someone that is a high corporate, like high paying corporate employee, go from I'm leaving everything behind to I'm going to go and see what happens out there in Florida? Like, what was the worst moment that made you make that decision?
I think it's when I saw myself. I used to make fun of the people in New York City, like in my own head, right? And with my friends, like, oh, that person just looks like a zombie. They don't have no purpose in life. They're just aimlessly wandering. It's when I saw myself like that was just like the scary moment. I was like, oh, wow. I literally feel, look, and I'm being that funny expression that I used to call and make fun of. That's me now. And that it was like a smack in the face. It wasn't easy, right? It's not like one day I woke up and I was like, okay, now I'm like this healed person. Let's go. It's a journey, but that was like that was the moment. Like, I got scared. I knew there was more for me, and I didn't want to be that person. Like, I just no. I wasn't even thinking about it.
I can relate. I 20 some years in legal and corporate as well, and was like, there has to be more. Started doing some exploration, and then I found these other healers and TikTok with the pandemic, and I was like, I'm not alone. There are other people, and this is in fact an opportunity and a path. Like, I don't have to keep myself in this communication coaching box. I don't have to be, this corporate thing. I can be me and be a healer and encompass both the legal and the healing, and finding that balance. And that's a hard thing because we're programmed for so long of how that looks, and it is hard to go, there's more out there, and then give yourself permission and trust to follow that path, or even explore it.
Giving yourself permission, that's key, because it's hard to switch the program, shift the mindset. Like, you almost become on autopilot. So be giving yourself the permission to explore, expand, exhale. It sounds easy, but it really isn't. So I love the way you said that.
So now this is part of what you help your clients with, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. This is what I love doing. So it all starts with a clarity call, right? I talk to people. I listen to them. I ask a bunch of questions. I still write. I take notes. And what I really listen to is what they're not saying. Like, I've gotten really good at, like, the things people don't say. And in that call, I kind of say, these are the 3 kind of goals that I heard you while you were speaking say. And they're like, oh my God, yes. Right. And so, like, we tend to, like, work on those goals. And then depending on the person, and no one's alike. And this is another part of what I love about being a life coach, but we create the goals, we create a roadmap, and we just start tackling. And it's a lot of talking, and I do it all now through Zoom. It seems to work. It used to be in person before the pandemic, but I can still connect with people on Zoom, which I even was skeptical about, but it works. And we just talk, I listen, I assign soul work at the end of each session, and this is one of my favorite things. So it's essentially homework, but I call it soul work because it's directly tied to the work we were just talking about, directly tied to, like, tap you into your soul again, right? And it depends. It's different exercises. It can be returning to trust. It can be, who am I? It can be, what's my legacy, right? Like sometimes having people think about what they want to leave behind, like, who do they want to be remembered as? Like, it kind of triggers, like, you know what, I'm not happy in this area. I do want to go into volunteering or whatever the thing is. So I love the soul work aspect of what I do, because talking is fantastic, but putting it into practice is a whole nother ballgame. And I really feel that that's where a lot of my clients find success, because it's the talking and the accountability, but like then they get to go home and like, all right, let's do some of this stuff. Let's do it on our own. And then I always tend to come back and we review some of the soul works. And so it's an ongoing learning and unlearning, if you will.
Do you find any resistance from the clients in regards to doing the soul work? I love that, by the way. Instead of homework, soul work. It sounds so much better.
It sounds more appetizing, right? Because when I think about homework, I'm like, oh, I feel like I hear my mom's voice in my head.
Yeah.
So, yes, resistance for sure, right? And people are just like, well, I just want to talk to you. And I'm like, that's great. And just try this. Like, and it's usually 1 or 2 sheets. I make it pretty. Oh, I should have printed some. I make it pretty, so it's, you know, there's some color in there, and most of my clients are female, so they tend to like that. And it's deeper questions. It's getting outside of your head, putting it on paper. That alone is so powerful. And so there's resistance at first, and then I tend to go a little bit lighter with those, and then I'm like, just give it a try. If you want, if it didn't work out well, we'll talk about what didn't work. And we'll see, maybe you're more of a visual, maybe you're more of an auditory. Maybe I just need to give you more like voice notes and or meditations. Like, so it depends on the client, but yes, there's resistance. We're like Janel was saying, we're programmed, right? And some of us are programmed to just resist what doesn't feel comfortable. And so, yeah.
Right. So I guess because of my own clients, I notice the resistant, those that are a little resistant and continue to be that resistant is because they're avoiding to do a part of the work that they don't really want to get to. There is a part that is saying, I'm not ready for that yet.
I don't really want to look into that box. I don't want to look into that memory. And yeah, for sure. It happens. But what I've found is that once they start doing it, and they're like, oh, okay, it wasn't that bad. Okay. And so like, then I like give them a little bit more and a little bit deeper and a little bit more, and it progresses. My clients who sign up for multiple packages, those ones are amazing because they have like this library now of all this work, and they keep it, right? Like and I tell them like, this is now in your toolbox. Like now you have this thing, whenever this situation comes up where you're feeling really low self-esteem for a week, you can come back and look at this beautiful document and say, oh yeah, I'm not that. Those were just my thoughts. Or you know, it's a reference after that.
And so with your packages, can you tell us what some of these packages look like, and when a client engages, what can they experience? Yeah.
So a lot of the packages are either 3 sessions, 6 sessions. I always get stuck, or 12, depending on the person. And again, the resistance, a lot of people are like, it sounds great what you're saying, but can we just start with 3, right? Like they're like shy to get into the work. But typically people get the 6 session package because it's enough time to really start to feel comfortable with one another, because that's a big part of coaching, right? Like them feeling comfortable and vice versa. And then like really getting into it, and then they start to get comfortable. And that's when you start to see their awareness start to shift. And I always say this, everything begins with awareness. Once we are aware, we have choice. We now we're like, oh, we can go right or we can go left, and they're completely 2 different paths. But without having the awareness, where are you? You're going nowhere. So the package is usually the 6 session, but it depends on the person. It depends on where they are in life. It depends on their finances. It depends on how deep they really want to go, because it always sounds good, and then like Victoria was saying, there's like well, I don't really want to get into that, but they do, but they're a little bit afraid to. So and again, it's our sessions on Zoom, and then we do the soul work. And then in between, I actually have some clients that are really good about texting in between. Sometimes they're just like, hey Nat, this just happened with my boss, and I didn't feel strong enough to like tell her how I really feel. Can you give me like a quick little, like, you got this? And I love doing that. And of course, right? I'm like, oh yes, so-and-so, what did we do last time? We grounded in our power. We grounded in who you really are. And now you get to express that with compassion, right? And like that one sentence, can you imagine how powerful that is to give someone the bump, the boost that they needed to whatever is it? So there's texting in between. Some people even email me in between, like, hey, this happened, and I know, you're busy, we don't have a session, but I kind of wanted to share this with you. And I'm so open to that. So it's not just this 1 hour and that's it. It's interactive. For as long as we're together, it's interactive, because I care. I care about my clients. And sometimes my friends are like, you always get so excited. And I'm like, yeah, I maybe sometimes get too attached, but it's hard. Like I get invested. Like I love seeing growth. It's like my natural drug. So it's yeah. So it's a lot of interaction for the duration of our time together.
Beautiful. So who are these the clients? What do they look like? Like, can you give us like an avatar, what these people are?
What I'm gonna just turn on my fan really quickly. Yes, it's primarily female, anywhere between 25 and 45. And for lack of better words, they feel stuck. The number one thing is I just feel stuck. And when I get into it, it's more of they've been experiencing numbness with themselves, with their partners, with their families, at work, on the commute, like you name it, they're not present. And they know that, and they just feel numb. And it's a kind of like I don't want to, I don't have energy, like low motivation, low energy, and then the not knowing what their path is, what their purpose is. And I love this area of what I do, right? Because when we uncover, I call it dirt, right? Like when we take off the dirt off of our beautiful, shiny souls, then it's like you can start to see all these pieces. So helping people get unstuck, right? To removing this dirt, making them aware, giving them tools to go on. And their goals vary, right? Some women come to me and say, I just got out of a really bad relationship, and this is like my 10th bad relationship. Like I don't feel confident in myself. Like my self-esteem is at rock bottom. Like, can you help me? So that person, we focus on self-esteem. Another one can be, I've been working all these jobs, but I don't feel connected to them, and I don't know what my purpose is, right? So it's beautiful in the sense that I'm not tied down to just a person. It's definitely more so women, but it's women who want more, that have that, like that moment that I had on the train. They're like, holy ish, I almost cursed. I don't want to be that. I don't want to look at it, feel it. They have their own version of that. And so they usually, hopefully, mostly find their way to me. And if not, other healers like you two beautiful women, like there's so many beautiful healers out there in the world. And they start to awaken to that. Like, okay, no, there's more.
So how do you help them stick to their commitments? Because once you make that choice, that a lot happens, right?
A lot happens. So the accountability piece is huge for me. In fact, almost all my clients, we meet every other week, which is perfect for me. I kind of love that cadence too, because I do give them soul work. So it kind of gives them time to work on it. But in the week between, I check in with every single one personally. Either I tend to text. I text them, I'm like, hey, how's it going with A that we worked on in session? Or did you have that conversation with your mother? How did it go? Right. So like I stay, and my brain kind of just does this on its own. Like I remember each client and I kind of remember what we talked about. So I just check in real quick, and that check-in is huge. So that accountability, one, is like something that really works for clients. Two, with some of my clients, they're more structured. So they actually like what I call a roadmap. So it's essentially a timeline. What are we in? So in February 1st, I'm going to begin doing X. By March 1st, I should see some kind of movement shifts, whatever. And then we do that for the rest of the year for however long, whatever their goal is. So we actually create roadmaps like on a Google Sheet. So I help them there. And that's also helpful for some of them. And not that all goals are tangible, right? Like, oh, how do you measure self-esteem? It's more so, what are the exercises and practices that you're putting in place to get to that self-esteem? right? So it can start being working out every day. It can be using positive affirmations every morning. So like tracking those things, not actually like, okay, yeah, 1 to 10, I'm more confident today. I mean, I wish it could happen that way, but it's hard. So some of them love the roadmap. And then the soul work, honestly, like I keep going back to that, but it's a huge piece of the work that I do with people, because it takes time. And some of these exercises aren't just 5 minutes. Like it takes time. They set aside time for it. They put their hearts into it. We talk about it afterwards. They get to keep it. It's part of their toolkit. It's in their little toolbox.
Yeah, taking that time, right, to sit down for 2 hours is key. Yeah.
So one of the things, and it sounds like with this soul work, it really helps. One of the things Victoria and I talk about a lot with our clients is the integration, being able to take that information and integrate it. And it sounds like your soul work is a huge part of that integration process. It's one thing, like I kind of see myself as a activator or the beginning of a lot of spiritual evolution journey. They're starting to get curious. What else is out there? How do I communicate with spirit guides? How do I, get in touch with my higher self? And so it's kind of I can try this, and it's a safe way to explore. But then they walk away and they get all these great messages, but they don't always take the time to integrate it. Like there may be, but the seeds were planted. No matter what, I know the seeds were planted in their subconscious. So whatever they do will grow. But in the meantime, some of them actively go, how do I integrate this? And others are like, okay, good, bye, and out the door. And, we all know it's in their highest good, but at the same time, it's frustrating in some ways because you want to see that evolution for them. You want to see them step into that, and that integration is so huge. What would you say is kind of the biggest shift you've seen with the client? Like from when they walked in the door to, toward the end of their time with you?
Yes, I love that question. And I also want to remark, I love how you see the soul work, or how I'm describing as integration. And I never actually put that together, but it's so true, right? That is the piece that like, it helps them embody the words, the thoughts, right? And that's where the integration really starts to happen. So I love that you said that. I'm like, my little brain is like, okay, how can I make this into a thing? So thank you for saying that. One of my biggest clients' success stories is a woman who was a ruminator. So someone that's a beautiful analyzing brain, and we're all so different, and I love that, but she could not turn her brain off. She would just analyze and analyze. And so what a ruminator does is like they repeatedly go over things like nonstop. So she was suffering from anxiety. She was suffering from, not being able to turn off her brain. And because of that, she was never present. And she actually said, she's like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just not there. So through talking and discovering, we realized that she was very fearful of being present because she was afraid to lose whatever that thing was. So instead of actually just showing up fully, she would show up a little bit to like protect and like save herself. But then in her head afterwards, let's say she went to a dinner and she kind of had fun, but she didn't really talk a lot, and like all her friends are engaging in conversation, she would then go home and say, I should have said this at dinner. I should have done this. Why didn't I wear that to dinner? Right? Like her anxiety and her ruminating would just take over. Yeah. Through our time together, she just became aware of a lot of her behaviors that she had no idea of. And again, that's what I say. It all begins with awareness. She became aware. Like she didn't even know about the word rumination. And that's like one piece, but like, it was funny now we kind of joke about it. And it's like, she had no idea that she was running in this pattern always. And it was always. And one of the biggest things is that part of that too, is that she wanted to be in control. Because if you're in control, then you don't really get hurt as much. And it's just, and a lot of us do this. And it's not judgment. I'm just sharing, right? Like a lot of us do this. And she was having a hard time starting her family, getting pregnant for years, right? Like she was just so anxious and the control and this like going over and over. We did a lot of meditation and journaling. So I forgot to mention, so we can talk about it later. I focus on mindfulness. Like that's my entry into like how I base all my coaching mindfulness tools, because that's what started my journey. So we focused a lot on journaling and meditating. And that beautiful soul just saw herself, right? She probably most, and I'm sure connected to her higher self, and started to see and feel the way things could be if she did connect fully, if she did show up present. Like it was so beautiful. And it was slower than that, because I'm just recapping it in 5 minutes. But you know, after some months, she really started to show up, and she just kept telling me, Nat, I feel so good. And that's all she would say. She's like, this weekend I did this and I did this, and I feel so good. Like she was so happy, and like she couldn't almost believe how long she's been kind of hiding and half showing up and not mad at herself. Well, you know, maybe she had that experience, but I told her, I'm like, don't judge yourself. You were like that before. The beautiful thing is that now you have choice. You don't have to be like that anymore. And again, empowering my clients to have choice. I don't tell them, do this. You should be this way and this way only. No, I remind them that they have the choice at their awareness. Then they can choose whichever path they want to, right? And giving them that sovereign freedom. Like it's beautiful. And she then became pregnant after years of having a hard time. I feel like some part of her body and her mind and her heart just like released into trust, into comfort, into belief. And I couldn't be happier for her. You know, she still struggles with anxiety. I don't magically cure things. I wish I could, guys. If you're listening, I don't magically cure things. If I had that power, we'd be talking about other things right now. But but I can give you tools to help you manage it, work through it yourself. And that's what I love about coaching, right? Like I gave her everything that she didn't know she needed, and now she uses them on her own when she wants to. She'll tell me, she's like, Natalie, I just did a meditation in the middle of my workday. And I'm like, yes. Like I get so proud, right? Because it's like you can only show people X amount, and then it's up to them. But so that's one of my largest and happiest. It's also more recent stories. It's beautiful, right? Like it's so nice to see. It's just nice to see. Thank you for
Absolutely.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really does. It reminds me of something that I always say. The healing happens when we start bringing things up to the conscious. And then everything becomes like unraveling all the knots, the energetic knots, so that then the healing and release can happen. And it sounds exactly like that's what happened to her.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's just, I don't know. It's just nice to hear her say, guess what? I hosted my whole family in my house. She was terrified of doing something like that before. Again, because like how do I be present and do all, like her anxiety just took over. Excuse me. So yeah, it's a beautiful journey, like to be able to facilitate and then witness. Again, it's like my natural drug. Like I don't need drugs. I just need to coach people and just like get elevated on my own.
Can definitely relate to that one. So do you have any stories that you think for people just starting out on this journey could really relate to and may help them give themselves permission to engage with you or another healer? Like kind of maybe something from your own journey or a client's journey that was like, yeah, that's relatable. And
oh yeah, I have quite a few. But in preparing for today, like I was thinking about some, and I found this book. So I mentioned earlier that I learned to meditate with a book, like myself. That's how I started, like 10 years ago. I found that book and I was like, oh my God, here it is, right? And it's simple, like a beginner's guide meditation. It's tiny. So I would read the book, and it's really nice. In the front, it talks about what meditation is, what you know, suggestions, all these cool things. And in the back, they have exercises. And it starts with exercise 1, 2, blah, blah. It goes up, and obviously it gets a little bit harder. So I started, you know, I have my book. Okay, so like close your eyes. Okay, have the book. But then like, how do you close your eyes and also read to know what you're going to do next? So it got a little tricky. And then like, okay, now do this. Okay, now close your eyes, breathe. Okay, now. Like, so I would toggle between like reading, not reading, closing my eyes. And I got kind of good at it. But one day, I remember this, it must have just been a day where I was in a mood. I had my book, I'm on like exercise 4. I'm feeling excited. I'm like, oh, I'm up to number 4. Nothing worked. The book wouldn't stay open. The neighbors were fighting. My candle like knocked over. Like nothing worked. I threw the book across the room and just yelled. And I'm like, that's my meditation for today. I'm done. And so I like to share this story because it's not easy, right? It takes commitment. It takes showing up for yourself. It takes learning something new, getting outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, like it seems a little weird to meditate reading a book because like how you close your eyes, but read this. Like I was like, how am I gonna do it? And so I share this because I did learn. I did have moments that were really tough, but I stuck through it. And now like, I can do it on my own and it's great. But anytime we learn something new, it's not going to be easy. And we're going to have moments, it's just like, F this, like I'm done. I just threw it. Like, and I'm not really a violent person, but I had it. So those moments, let them happen, enjoy them, and then show up again the next day. Like that's the biggest thing I like to tell people, right? Like have those moments. They're gonna happen. We are very human. And then tomorrow, I'm like, all right, where did I end up? Okay, number 4. Let's go again, and go for it. And I did, and I'm happy I did because now I have like this amazing meditation practice that, again, like it's like brushing my teeth. I can like when I don't meditate, like I just feel off for the day, and maybe it's because I have an early appointment, or it usually doesn't happen, but it feels strange when I don't meditate. It's like a part of connecting to my higher self, connecting to my soul. It's quiet. It's a really nice way for me to start my morning. And yeah, so I'm glad I stuck through it, even though there are times of like, I don't want this, I can't do it, it sucks. But that's always going to happen whenever we start new challenges and journeys. It's a part of the journey. You don't feel like it in the moment.
Well, and especially for mindfulness and meditation, that is something somebody can do anytime, anywhere, in any way. I have a very good friend who her meditation is actually running. So she can't, sit there and just the yogi concept we were talking about earlier. For her, it's having that movement and having that kind of external stimuli helps her quiet her brain enough to be able to just kind of be in herself and feel her body and kind of be grounded and centered in herself by running. And then I have some that, like you said, do it at work. They just take 5 minutes or even 2 minutes and just breathe. And it's enough to kind of recharge that battery. And so many people who speak of mindfulness and meditation make it gives the impression it's this half-hour practice and it's, has to be X, Y, and Z. And that's the actual beautiful thing is there are so many ways to do it. There is no one size fits all.
And I love that you said that.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, maybe we can go over what is it that you do for your meditation, and we can also share our technique.
Oh, yes. And before that, I agree with you, Janelle. There's no have to, has to. And like a lot of time, and even in reading the book, it says, put your hands like this, sit like this. When you're learning, sure, maybe it's easier to follow a technique, but then afterwards, you find what works for you. Some people like music, some people like movement, some people like breath work. Like there's so many beautiful avenues. And again, I want to remind people, like, keep trying, like keep showing up to the thing that you're trying to learn, because you're gonna find your groove with it. So for me, there's 2 types that I love to meditate, either guided when I'm feeling either really sleepy or like I already can tell that I'm super busy in my head when I wake up. Because when I wake up, the very first thing I do is I get my journal. And like literally, I wake up, I usually say a little something in my head, and then like I get my journal and I write. And then I meditate. So either guided meditation, if I can tell like I need a little bit of guidance, or sometimes I just kind of sit in silence, and I love to connect to the earth. I love to like move my body and my energy and ground into Mother Earth. And since a child, I've been super visual. So it's really easy for me, but some people, it's a little bit harder, and that's fine. It comes if you practice. So I tend to sit cross-legged on my bed. I stay there and I just imagine almost like a root coming out of my root chakra, which is our chakra down by our bottoms. And just I imagine a root just like sprouting out of me and going straight down through the bed, through the earth, through the grounds. And then until I finally connect to the center of our earth. And once I'm at the center of my earth, I kind of imagine like hooking into the center of the earth with the figure 8, like the infinity sign. I do that with that. And then I bring the energy back up. And usually my eyes are closed. And length and speed and time, I don't really know because I do it often. But I start bringing energy back, and I'm breathing. And then I connect that to my root chakra again with another figure 8. And so like that grounds me. And lately I've been doing mostly grounding because I find that I like to live up in how do we say this? The ethereal space, right? Like I love being up in like angel realms and other realms and like with my higher self, and I love being up there. And so sometimes, however, and so there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes when I have a lot of work to do and I got things, I get to ground, like I get to like focus, feel secure, feel safe, because the other one is a lot more like, ooh, I feel good, everything's easy, I could do this, I also can dance, I can chew gum, I'm gonna also make it like, there's different beautiful energies. So lately that's what I've been doing.
That's beautiful.
And I tend to thank Mother Earth when I do that too, because this planet does so much. And so like part of that is not just me taking energy, it's me like giving mine. Yes. Yeah. And like saying like, I'm aware of what you do. I'm aware of what you are. And like, I think. So
that's beautiful.
That is gorgeous. Victoria, what is your meditation practice?
Mine is very easy. One intention per meditation. And whether it is 1-2 times a day, that is my meditation technique that I always go to, because I don't do well with the guided meditations. There is something about that it just doesn't work for me. It did for a while, many, many years ago, but eventually it got to the point where it was like, no, I got to go in with my clear intention, whether it is to surrender, show me what I need, or connect to find a specific answer. So that is my technique, very easy, like one intention and surrender.
That's fantastic.
Out of curiosity, how long do you typically meditate?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. For me, it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to overnight. So it really depends on what I'm trying to achieve for the day.
Same.
And that's, I'm glad you said that, Victoria, because I know of a few friends who have that I'm doing things wrong, like gremlin worm in their head, that so when they are in a guided meditation and it's saying, okay, go up the stairs, and they've already started down the stairs, like, and they're like, oh, I'm messing it up. And it's, there is no right or wrong way per se to do this, but because of their own, so I love that you shared that, you kind of do it your own way, in a way that fits for you. And you fit, to what Nathalie said, you explore the options and then are able to find what works for you, but there is no right or wrong way. I usually take about 10, maybe 15 minutes. I have challenges with meditation itself. So I'm still working on, what that process looks like for me, but it's usually 10 or 15 minutes right before I go to bed. And it may be listening to nature sounds, but just to quiet myself and ground and clear my energy, especially trying to, if I've had clients that day or anything, to release their energy, sending it lovingly back to them and recalling my own energy in that process. And I do short and sweet, again, just because, I do have challenges, settling myself long enough to do it that way. But that's kind of been my current practice, is short and sweet.
Yeah. Well, it took me many years, Janelle, to get to the point where I could do 30 minutes. Like, I remember, oh my goodness, it's been so long, but it was like, I just need to do 1 minute today, 1 minute. And then it was like 5 minutes. And then it was like 2 hours, if I can do 2 hours, until I got to the point that I could do it for many, many hours. But it takes practice and commitment for sure.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victoria, Janelle, that's great. I love you releasing the energy and, or, you know, we work with people, we help others, right? So releasing that is so important. And you reminded me that I get to do that more often. But I love your meditation. And you say short and sweet, but maybe it's not short for you, right? Like, it's exactly the right amount for you every day. And it's perfect.
I agree. Yeah. And the idea, the way that you're doing that to recall your energy is very important, because sometimes we finish with a client and I think people don't really know, like even myself, I used to find myself like, it's not going to really affect me. And it's like, oh crap, I feel everything. So disconnecting from those that we assisted in a very compassionate way, it doesn't have to be like, oh, goodbye soccer, right? Like it has to be very compassionate way to release that core for the day so that it cannot affect us. It's key. Yeah. So it's very effective. It sounds like it's very effective for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you just reminded me of something, Victoria. I have, you know, as healers, we have a lot of very empathetic friends who almost feel like it's their job to be a sponge for all of the energy of our clients, to help take that. And one of the things I've been sharing about the shielding, you know, I even shield before I go in to work with a client. And they're like, but then I'm not helping them. Yeah, I still am, because I actually put on my shield kind of like a pollen, so that the energy bounces off the shield and takes the healing and love energy and goes back to them. It's not that negative, oh, you know, threefold send back to sender type thing. It's nothing like that. Like I can do it in a loving way that they do get what they need. They just don't take from my core energy in the process. And I think that's also something, even everyday people who are just starting on this journey, that grounding, that cleansing, that shielding, you know, it's not a bad thing, you know, especially when you're highly empathetic and helping people around you. It's actually better for both you and them. And I think that's a wonderful thing for a lot of our clients to remember.
Yeah. You know, one of my elders, Janel, now that you talk about that, he was talking about he's into yoga, like he's right there. He was in India for many years, and he always talks about like how people that do Reiki end up getting cancer because they're picking up all of the energy from the clients, and they're not releasing that energy, so they're not transmuting that energy properly. And he just always talks about that. So you reminded me of that, like the importance of not taking in and using your own energy to assist the client, but letting the source energy do the job.
Yep. We're a transmuter. We are a facilitator in the process. We are not the battery doing it.
Right. So Nat, can you talk to us about the program that you have coming up, the Surrender program? Yes. I'm so interested to find out more.
Yes. So because lately a lot of the theme that I hear from women is that they feel numb. They feel numb to themselves. They feel numb to their partners, their family, at work, even commuting to work, at the store, getting coffee. Like they're just numb, and they just don't feel it. I don't want to, I don't feel it. And so I just started thinking, and I'm like, you know, a lot of people just don't trust, and that trust stops them from connecting. And connection is ultimately what all humans want, right? Like people say, no, I don't need it. Okay, my belief is that we do want connection. We are meant to be beautifully intertwined. So a lot of these people come to me and they're like, I'm not connected to anything. So I created a program. It's a 5-week program, one-on-ones with me, and it's going through, and I called it Surrender to Trust, because I use the word surrender because you have to want it. You have to want to exhale, release, to allow the trust to come up. And a lot of what we talked about today, like my journey, not hearing my heart, not being in touch with ourselves, like it takes work to trust. And I love this program because it's about trusting ourselves first, right? And a lot of people always think about, oh, well, I don't trust that person. I don't trust her. Okay, but do you trust yourself? And so, right, like bringing it back inward. So it's 5 beautiful weeks. Each week is a different topic. We go through it together. Of course, it will be soul work. And then there's just a lot of talking and definitely some meditations in there, some affirmations, because I'm huge on affirmations too. Like what we say to ourselves in our brain is powerful. And when we're not aware of what we're saying to ourselves in our heads, it can be dangerous, right? If you're just saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, no one's gonna love me. Like if that's what you're saying in your head all day, all the time, imagine how your world looks and feels like. So getting back to trusting ourselves, listening to our hearts so that we can get that connection that we all really crave. That's what I'm going to focus this program on. And within a month, it will come out or so. It's
Is
in the
it
works.
A permanent? Is it for the
year?
year?
So it's kind of, I'm launching it now, but it's available whenever someone feels like it's like something we can talk about. Well, so I have clarity calls, and if I find that someone's really just focused and stuck on that topic, I can share that. I'm going to talk about it on my Instagram. I'm going to share like that. This is happening to a lot of us, and I just want to help. I want to give everyone tools.
Yeah, especially healers, right? Like, oh, I don't know, I don't follow my intuition. That's a big one for Janel and I. There is no intuition, it's no flow. Well, you're not listening to yourself.
Yeah. In my path, that's been the biggest thing, is trusting that I do have these abilities and trusting myself that my instincts are nudging me, giving me the breadcrumbs in the right direction. And that's a scary journey for a lot of people.
It is a scary journey, especially when we're so used to listening to external voices. That's right, like switching from that external voice leading to the internal voice. Oof. Some good
especially when we realize we're that powerful that we can do a lot of crazy stuff. It's like, oh my God, I can do that if I believe in myself. When I believe in myself, this happens. Like it's amazing. It's powerful. So I'm excited about it. Thank you for asking, Victoria. It's a new year. Why not? Let's get more connected.
Well, we have a few minutes left. Is there anything that you would like the listeners to think about? No, like if you had any message you could just share with them right now, what comes to your heart?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my heart, in fact, what came to my I have a screen and like words pop up. It was awareness. And we talked about this today, but awareness is so vital and beautiful. And once we are aware of our thoughts, of our body, of our posture, of our mental state, like so many things, it's almost like a doorway to anything and everything else. Like, right, once awareness is present, magic can happen, and has for me, it has for Janel, it has for Victoria, like, right, like it has for your clients, it has for my clients. Like once we're in that space of awareness, literally magic can happen. And magic means different things to different people, but that could just mean you loving your body now, today, not your 25-year-old body, but now. It can mean you quitting your job and starting your business today, right? Like that's magic. Magic is...
Yeah. I'm laughing because my 25-year-old would be like, girl, what did you do?
And then you can tell your magic, your 25-year-old, like, yeah.
It just made me laugh.
So
I'm sorry I cut you off.
Cute, but I like that you're laughing about it so much, because we all have our little things of what our 25-year-old versus today. But you know, it's cool though. Sometimes I'm like, well, when I was 25-year-old, I couldn't do this or this, right? And it's like, okay, I can do this. And you guys were just talking about the most amazing, powerful things that you guys can do. Like well, maybe you could have done it at 25, but maybe you weren't. Other than that,
nope, it's all part of the journey. That's, things we had to learn to be able to step into the power, whatever that looks like. So Nathalie, if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so Instagram is the fastest way. The name of my company is Vibe Tribe, and Vibe because people, before I became a coach, people would always tell me, like, you always change my mood and your energy, and like you always like change the vibe of wherever we're at or what we're doing or we're talking about. And I was like, all right. So Vibe Tribe underscore Vibe Tribe on Instagram. That's kind of the easiest way because like all my links are there to my website, to my Calendly link where we can schedule your free call. You get to learn about me, my life, and my journey. So it's kind of a like easy, fast way. But if not, just my website, which is n5tribe.com.
And is that IN, like IN
And so
or EN?
NVIBE tribe.
Perfect.
And vibe. Like so like N for Natalie, like, and usually I like to say come and vibe with me, but just playing on words. So N like the letter and then vibe.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And guys, thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
It was a really fun way to start my day. Your
yes,
questions,
it was beautiful.
Your questions, the fun, and you know what, I realized that there's a lot of things happening in the world, and there's also a lot of really good magical things happening, like us reconnecting, the beautiful work that Janelle's doing, while also, you know, we come from similar backgrounds. We used to do X amount of thing for X amount of years. Now we're doing this beautiful thing. Victoria, like all the amazing things that you're doing and all the transformation and the healing that you guys bring to this world. Like I just like to emphasize that because it's not emphasized enough. It's not talked about enough. It's not showcased enough. But there are a lot of us doing a lot of really, really badass good things.
Yeah, millions of us.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. So thank you.
And that's part of the reason Victoria and I wanted to start this podcast, is to start showcasing it and bring that energy out into the world, and give people an opportunity to find that community. So thank you for being part of it, Nathalie, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day, everybody out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All our listeners, like, subscribe, and follow us on the Alternative Healers Coffee Chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.